Hello, hello, and welcome to the only podcast where we wonder what a half sheep, half humanoid would look like in the Star Wars universe, but can guarantee it would be mutton but trouble. I'm Matt.
I'm Luke.
And I'm Max.
This is Force for Thought.
All right, hello and welcome back to our Mandalorian review. Today we are going over Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 2, The Passenger. Now, if you've been following along, you'll know that we've been pretty excited to talk about this episode, mostly for Luke's reaction, because Luke's been hyping this episode up a lot. So I do want to start with you, Luke, on rewatch. What are your overall thoughts?
Real quick, mutton is sheep. That's the joke. I've been watching Seinfeld. Mutton.
I like the joke.
Okay, just making sure. Just making sure. I was too afraid to look at you guys' faces.
I feel pressured to come in pretty hot on this, and I guess maybe I will be in reference to your takes on it. But it was good. This is a good episode of The Mandalorian, and I liked it. Frog Lady was just as whimsical and charming as I remembered her. There were some elements that I had completely forgotten about, like hacking into Q0 and using his vocoder. That was awesome, and that shocked. I did not recall that at all. And I loved it. Series introduction for Carson Teva. Big fan of his. Yeah, this is a good episode. It's not, I mean, it doesn't advance the plot, obviously. It's not one of the best episodes, but it is good. It's a good show, and I like, this is a at worst average episode of this show, and I like it.
What did you say? This is a what average?
At worst average.
Oh, at worst average. Okay. Yeah, Matthew, what do you think? Overall thoughts?
I enjoyed this way more than I remembered enjoying it. Usually I feel like, Max, I'm so interested in your thoughts because I was going through and ranking the episodes, and I think after watching season 1 fully, and I'm interested in seeing where this is going to end up in the pantheon of all the episodes, because going through season 1 and going, this is what's nice to going through 1 through 3 in order, is when I watch this episode, it's a little bit all over the place, but it is a fun adventure and ride. The first 16 minutes, I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty fun. I like the jetpack bit. I like the fight in the intro. I like the shot on the speeder with the Boba Fett helmet. And then I was like, okay, well, surely this is where it gets dumb. And I was like, well, no, I actually had fun with that too. And then I was like, oh, this is just ripping off Aliens. But I was like, well, I also love Aliens, so this is actually great for me too. Like with the spider eggs to the giant spider, just replace, the queen alien. But overall, I enjoyed it way more than I remember. And I think, going back to my original thought, and the fact was kind of poking holes in a lot of some of the things where, like, this is really heavy exposition in some of the other episodes. I think I prefer this fun, stupid romp with some comedy and strengthening the relationship between Grogu and Din Djarin versus something like obviously like the Gunslinger or something. Anyway, top level thoughts. Enjoyed it way more than I thought. Maxwell.
I think for the first time in Force for Thought history, this might be the first time that we have complete consensus amongst them.
Oh!
I absolutely agree.
Right?
I liked it so much more on rewatch.
It's funny.
It is funny, and it is a good romp. Matthew, you described it very well, and I think what it is for this one in particular, it is like a fun one-off episode, and it looks really good. Like, the entire time I'm looking, and I'm just like, I like what I'm looking at right now. Like, with the gunslinger, and you're back on Tatooine, and it's just like more sand, and everything's just kind of bland and dead. It was different. I really liked this episode on rewatch. I think the first time I watched it, I don't like it because it is definitely a filler episode.
Yes.
It doesn't really advance the plot at all, right? It's just to kind of stretch it out. But as a filler episode, it is really fun.
Yes.
And I feel like they do a really good job of striking that with the very first scene, because it was like watching brand new Mandalorian for me. I did not remember that first scene at all. When it picks right back up on Tatooine, he's driving the speeder bike. I agree, the shot where you see that the helmet on the bike and everything is so cool. And I see these bounty hunters laying this trap, about the clothesline Mandalorian traveling presumably like 100 miles an hour. I mean, he is
straight
zooming on that speeder bike, and I was like, this is gonna decapitate him if anything. But they did a good job of how he fell off, but he used the jetpack to brace himself, and then there was an excellent action sequence that obviously culminated with that Force Awakens species alien. I don't know what species it is, but I recognize it from the Force Awakens on Jakku. A Tito. Is that the species or is that the character?
Well, it's my understanding, based on a children's book that I've read, that it is a species, but they go by. But Rey calls him that is Tito. Is Tito the right name? It's something just like Tito.
I think it
but
is.
Rey says that
Tito sounds familiar, but to push back, people sometimes refer to Weequays as Weequay. I think the character in the Return of the Jedi is just called Weequay, and that's technically the species as well.
Huh.
Yeah, there's several Jedi like that. There's a Nikto Jedi.
I'm gonna name my next child human.
Well.
But yeah, that whole sequence was absolutely fantastic. And then obviously the Tito character, I'll assume that's the species, takes Grogu hostage, and he's like, "Oh, I'll give you anything for him," and he demands the jetpack, and then he just
So smart
on his remote control wrist controller, however it works. I don't know. They don't need to explain it. I understood it perfectly. He just sends him, I don't know how high up in the air, but and then crashing to his death, which is brutal, but hilarious at the same time. And I just did not recall that scene at all. And so that's kind of why I wanted to describe that in a little bit more detail than I usually do with these scenes, because I hope that someone's listening going, yeah, I remember this episode, and then hear us describing it and being like, okay, maybe I will go back and rewatch it, because it's definitely worth the rewatch. Great episode from the very beginning. Anything else we want to talk about with that opening sequence?
I've been saying that this is a better episode than we remembered for a while, and I'm glad to be on the right side of history now, having rewatched it. But I was in the exact same boat. I didn't remember that opening sequence at all. The Q0 stuff I didn't remember at all. My memory of this episode can really just be summed up with a gif of Frog Lady going on all fours, running away from the spiders, which is awesome, and we'll get there, but that was my memory of this episode and the cool design of Frog Lady. But yes, that sequence in the beginning was so well done, and I remember the shot of Mandalorian walking, holding his stuff on the stick over his shoulder. And I remember, when this episode started, I was like, oh, he's in a speeder. That's weird. That must be from some other time. And then I see them setting up this trap, and I'm like, oh, no. I think I remember where they're going with this. But still, just, vaguely. Yeah, it was great intro to the episode. When he wrist cabled that gun and then ducked and it hit those two people next to him.
Yes.
That is, in even a more serious episode of this show, that wouldn't work. But for just this episode, that's a cool bit, and I liked it.
I agree. I can't believe all three of us agree on this episode. Max, I was I was nervous to come in here and be like, oh, what is Max going to say? Even during when I was talking, I was like, I cannot read his reaction whatsoever. I'm just like, is he agreeing? Is he hardcore disagreeing? And yeah, I'm so glad that all of us agree on this. It was just it was a fun episode. Like I said, every couple minutes, I was like, well, this is when it drops off. And then it never dropped off for me. And I was like, this is by far the most fun filler episode. And I forgot about the stakes of Frog Lady, of how she's her whole species, right, will just disappear if they don't get, the eggs don't get fertilized, right? It's really intense as well. And I like how Din Djarin's lady, if we're lucky to get off this frozen planet, if we're lucky enough to get off of this frozen planet or whatever, the deal's over. And then it ends happy still too. And it's still a fucked up but funny bit when Grogu eats the eggs, even when you know all those stakes are there. Oh my god, so much is on the line.
It is, yes, 100%. Because I recall, and I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit now, but I recall there being a big stink online of people being
big stink. There were articles. Big stink is generous. We live in a clicks per
at least
article
two
culture.
Articles.
Yes.
There were at least 2 articles saying that it was kind of fucked up that Grogu was eating this woman's eggs. And I was rewatching it, and I was just like, it's not that weird. It's the same thing as a chicken's eggs, right? So I'm like, this doesn't bother me. But then when they gave all of that exposition about how rare her species is or whatever, or how hard they're trying to propagate their family line, and like this is their only chance to do it, and he's still housing these things. I'm like, dude, stop.
I know.
So it is funny to go back and rewatch that. It is a little messed up, but it's like they toe a line.
It's a little messed up, and I've always been on the side that it's an unfertilized egg, so it's not murder. But they do have
They make a big deal about
particular
that. That's
dialogue
definitely
that
clear.
jumped out at me, even though it is unfertilized. She did say if we don't travel in no faster than sublight speeds, then they will die, implying that there is life to them now if they would die. That there was a line that said they will die, and that jumped out as antithetical to my understanding of the situation. So
I feel like you know how people come up with a list.
Is interesting, and I almost don't want to focus too much on that.
Yeah, don't do it. You know how people like come up with lists of like how to watch Star Wars in the proper order to be like, oh, watch, pause it right here and then go into watch Revenge of the Sith and yada yada. I feel like in Mandalorian you could do the same thing where like watch this episode and then watch the beginning of the last episode of season 8 where Grogu gets punched so it feels vindicated, and then go back to the rest of the episode.
this would be the one time where it's appropriate to punch Grogu in the head.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. All right. But following the opening sequence, then Mandalorian revisits Pelimato, and he basically gets his instructions for the episode. He gets some information from Dr. Mandible, which was interesting because I'm fairly certain Dr. Mandible is a original A New Hope Cantina scene member. Is he not, Luke?
The alien definitely is. I believe the character is as well.
Because she said his name, Dr. Mandible, and
Yes.
I kind of recall that somewhere, like in the depths of my mind. I didn't research it beforehand, but I was fairly certain. So I thought that was cool. Obviously appropriate. It's the same place, so it's like, oh yeah, I guess at least one of these people would still be hanging around here. But I just like those deep cut original trilogy kind of pulls from that stuff, and they're on Tatooine at that point, so it's like this is the perfect time to loop it in, right? But then he meets up with Frog Lady. He has to travel sublight. We talked about that.
Great Frog Lady.
Yeah.
A couple notes on Frog Lady. First off, watching Pelimato speak in Frog definitely validates Luke's opinion last episode when you said that it would be worse watching somebody speak Tusken if you can see their mouth while trying to do it, because watching her speak Frog was unsettling. It was weird.
Yes,
It's weird.
It's too weird. It's
It's a weird episode, and Frog Lady's weird.
It is a weird episode. But
this is the shit that I love. The just completely random and barely explained lore stuff for a very specific thing like this. Like this is Frog Lady. She has eggs. They need fertilized. Okay, simple enough. You can't travel at light speed. They'll die. Okay, that's fine. Got it. Let's keep going. She speaks a language that you don't understand. Oh, okay, that's fine. It's called frog. What? Like that? I cannot believe. I remembered that wasn't just what the fans called it, and that was like the in-universe what they call Frog Lady and what they call her speech or her language. But that is just so batshit crazy. Like she doesn't even look that much like a frog. Like she does, but it's not like she is a frog. Like that. Oh, that part that jumped out at me this time.
I would say she's 90%
and I would
frog
love to have.
besides legs. Like I think she's pretty froggy.
Well, she's got like a longer.
I mean, if you were to
beak.
compare her to a real animal, it would definitely be a frog, if not some sort of lizard. Maybe like a gecko, actually. I guess she looks more like a gecko than a frog. But those are very similar. They're in the amphibious family. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that conversation when they were coming up with this character name and this species and this language. And they were like, what are we going to call it? And it's like, oh, she looks like a frog. Let's just call her Frog. It would be funny. And it's like, okay, that is something that we would do. However, we are going to call her by her species and her language like numerous times. Like, it's not just like a one-off, like, oh, I don't speak frog. They say it like what feels like 12 times in this episode. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of times for them to just settle on frog.
It was
Yeah.
also a laugh out loud moment when Pelimato vouched for her on her life, and then like 5 minutes later, she says that she'd never met her before, and Mando's like, "What the fuck?" And she says, "What can I say? I'm an excellent judge of character." That was a great line.
It is. Max,
That was
h-
pretty good.
How do you
yeah.
feel about Pelimato now that she's in a bit more episodes? Because I'm still waiting for you to switch over to Luke's and I's side where you like her.
The thumbs up side, yeah, she just keeps getting
Yes.
better and better.
You know, maybe it's Stockholm syndrome, but at this point, it's just like, yeah, I know Pelimato, so it's like it's not going to change for me. But it's like it's not bothering me anymore. So I guess maybe because this episode was like a little more eccentric, that it fits a little bit better. She didn't bother me this episode by any means.
I'll
Maybe
take it.
other than when I had to look at her mouth speaking frog. But that's not against her. That would have been against anyone. It would have been the same for Mando speaking Tusken or anyone else.
Yeah.
You talked about last week how comically large that piece of crate dragon meat was. It was satisfying to see it being rotisseried by a engine, no less. That was fun.
I did like seeing that roll around or spinning on a spigot or whatever. And then he takes off and they're heading for, I didn't write down the planet. I think it was Trask. Was that the
Trask,
name of the planet?
yes.
Where he gets the equivalent to pulled over by space rangers, the rangers of Adelphi Station, which is a kind of a funny concept. That it's just like, I don't know. It's literally just being pulled over. But it was a funny beat, and I liked it a lot. They were kind of questioning him, and he kind of knew that he was toast. And then they just have the moment where they say, all right, hey, can you jump over to channel 2 real quick? And then he just sits there in silence, and then you just slowly see their wings lock into attack position, and you're like, uh-oh.
That was awesome.
That is such a good beat. I love that moment.
Top Gun Maverick is famously just a Star Wars spin-off, a Star Wars ripoff, but this seems
Not
a lot
to-
cooler in Top
not-
Gun
not-
Maverick.
Not Top Gun, just Maverick. Just the sequel to the movie.
Yeah, Top Gun wasn't much of a Star Wars ripoff, but I mean, have you seen Top Gun Maverick?
No, I still have not.
I haven't, no. Did they have a similar situation?
Oh my god, dude! They do the trench run. The whole movie is them planning a trench run. You got to make it down this canyon,
That's hilarious.
super
Well,
fast. You haven't heard this take? Like,
No.
I feel like that's all I saw about Top Gun Maverick, and then it was also a fantastic movie. But so it's like if the trench run was actually done in the real world and shot super cool.
Interesting. No,
But yeah,
I was
at the
not
end,
too
at the
into
end,
that
Maverick
crowd.
is
I
in
didn't
like
hear
this
anything
exact same
about it.
situation where there's two enemies on his side, and they're talking to each other, and then he starts firing on them instead of just running down to this ice planet like a little bitch. But so it would have been cooler if he just started shooting on them, but
Does
different situation.
does the villain
But
of
you
the
can't
movie?
because these are technically the good guys. It's a
Yes,
fine
and-
line that they have to cross.
For being a filler episode that I thought had no impact on any future or previous episodes, I was wondering why they were pulling him over and like what the tension here is, because he's just a guy. Like I didn't even think he was a criminal, but then they brought up the prison transport, and I was like, oh yeah, you're a criminal.
Yep.
This is a tense situation.
He just has a tail light out.
Yeah, it was a good setup, and they did a good job of hinting at it too. I didn't talk about the previously on, but they did do a previously on where they talked a lot about that episode specifically, the prisoner from season 1, and it's funny how I kind of didn't make and think anything of it, right? And then once I watched this episode, I was like, wow, that episode was actually highly relevant to this one.
I'm not selling it very well, but you guys should watch Top Gun Maverick. They have to shoot a
I
thing
know.
that's like 2 meters wide in a small little area at the end of the trench run also, and then
They do not say it's 2 meters wide.
I'm pretty sure they say it's 2 meters wide.
That's wild.
It's wild.
I don't know.
At that point, they know what they're doing. At that point,
They-
they're
they knew the whole
intentionally
time.
making an homage.
Yeah.
I don't know why Top Gun Maverick was one of those things that just like floated by me. I know people love it, and I don't know. The first one is just it's too sad when the goose dies. So I'm like, I just don't. I know Val Kilmer's in this one before he died. I feel like it was just gonna make me tear up, the Iceman. But yeah, I just haven't. I have not done it.
Do you know what Val Kilmer died of?
Yeah, throat cancer.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this was
I
shot
know.
very late, and he can't talk. And
No.
at one point he does, and it's like he can barely talk, and it's sad for out of universe things, and then he dies in universe. Yeah, it was super sad. But no, Top Gun 1 actually sucks because Goose dies, and then the movie ends, and then it's like, oh, okay, now we have to go fight the Russians, and we're gonna do a third act, even though it has nothing to do with the first two acts.
That's true.
I did not like Top Gun 1.
But did you like
Top Gun Maverick is great.
But did you love the volleyball? Because if that feels up your alley.
Yes, but
there was a lot of volleyball.
Top Gun Maverick, they play dogfight football instead of volleyball, and also shirtless, and so it's better, you know.
And Goose's son Rooster is in there.
Yeah, I mean Rooster's cooler than Goose. Oh no, Goose was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Anyway, also they have a documentary called Val. It's wild. So depressing.
I highly recommend Top Gun Maverick.
It did really well at the box office, didn't it? I kind of recall that.
There's a love interest in Top Gun Maverick, and I thought that when I first saw it, it was a love interest between Tom Cruise and some girl, and I thought that she was the character from the first Top Gun, but it was not. It was a character mentioned in the first one that they then have an implied relationship in between the two movies with because of reasons, and that part is really weird. When you watch it, you're like, oh, I missed something in the first movie. And then you watch the first movie and you're like, no, I didn't.
Wow, that's there's a lot of connections.
Did they adjust the age well? Because it's weird giving someone a love interest when it's like, okay, but like in universe, though, you are like 60 years old.
I mean, out of universe, he's like 60. Yeah, it was...
I know. It's weird to give Tom Cruise a love interest. Unless it's like part of the... I don't know. I don't know. I'm not trying to be
Did
ageist.
You get divorced? Did you never find love? Give me some backstory here.
Yeah, kind of. All right. So Mandalorian's questioned by the Adelphi Rangers, and they get into this chase on the ice planet. Again, I know what's coming, and Matt, I think you said it before. It's like in my head, oh, the big ice spider. Like this is the ice spider episode, and I just thought like it's just 40 minutes of that, and there's so much else that happens, including this chase. This chase was a great action sequence, one of the better ones in Mandalorian, because I really like space battles. I've talked about it before on the podcast. Space battles are one of my favorite parts in all of the Star Wars movies, and this one was really well done. And I don't know what that style is, but I'm pretty certain that they did do it in Top Gun Maverick, just from watching like the trailers and stuff, where they do like these like fast like flybys and they kind of like zoom in as they're coming down around the corner and stuff like that. But watching these X-Wings, you know, very nostalgic, and it's still the same, you know, original trilogy X-Wings and everything
T65.
side by side with the Razor Crest is just super satisfying to watch. It's nostalgic and it's new at the same time, but it's filmed better. I mean, the visual effects are just amazing. And watching them navigate through this ice planet and going into the free fall with the Razor Crest and everything like that, it's just such a cool sequence. Everything I watched this episode, Matt, I guess, I mean, I already said that we're already in like 100% agreement, but yeah, the entire time I was just kind of waiting for it to be like, ugh, okay, here's this part of the episode, and it just never came. Everything I was just like, I like what I'm looking at.
Is this going to be canonically one of our favorite episodes? Oh, sorry. Okay.
You would think the boring part would come in one of the two scenes where Mandalorian goes to bed. Still doesn't.
Yeah, that's right picking for it.
That's funny. That happens multiple times in one episode. This might be my favorite episode of The Mandalorian.
Cut it right there.
Doesn't advance the plot.
Yeah.
No.
I know.
That doesn't advance the plot in any way. I want to say it a little bit nicer than like a throwaway episode, but that's basically what it is. It might be one of my favorite one of them.
I think it is mine as well, especially so far. Like, and to be honest, I don't know if there's one that's better than this going forward either. I'm trying to think as well, but it doesn't matter right now anyway.
There's not that many more filler episodes going forward. I can only say there are
we say that now, like all of them are going to be again. Classic Mandalorian.
The next one has Bo-Katan, and then
there's Bo-Katan, and then Ahsoka Tano, and then the filler one with Grief Karga and the Mithril. That's a filler one that I remember not liking very much. But then it's Migs Mayfeld, and then the finale, right? Or I'm one short. I'm forgetting.
Yeah, you're really close though.
you're missing good. One where they go to Tython and Grogu's captured.
Oh, that one.
Oh, yeah.
And that was great.
with
That's
Boba
what-
Fett.
Boba Fett.
Yeah, we forgot the Boba Fett episode. Oh my god.
God, we're 2 episodes in, and I'm like, wow, season 2 is so loaded.
Season 2
This
is
such
so
a
good.
better season.
You
Yeah,
are
this
absolutely
is-
right.
This is peak Star Wars. What else did I miss already? Did you guys want to say anything else about that, Chase? It was
Yeah,
sick.
just to tie Top Gun Maverick into Star Wars in the conversation more directly, the cinematographer who did a great job because the dogfighting was so cool. He's doing the cinematography on the Starfighter film, Sean Levy and
Oh.
Ryan Gosling, the Star Wars movie. So
That's
starfighting
amazing.
is going to look pretty cool, I think.
I did not know that, but I'm pumped to hear that because, like I said, I it stood out to me. I was like, wow, this looks fantastic. So yeah, that has 2 thumbs up from me.
And we know a similar situation is going to happen where they crash land on some sort of ocean planet. It looks like.
Yeah, probably.
With some sort of plot involving a young cub and a lone wolf.
Yep.
All right, so they do crash on the ice planet. The Razor Crest is in disarray. Mandalorian just kind of gives up. Now, this is the part where like the episodic plot I kind of started to get confused by because he's just like, oh, I kind of give up on my mission with her, and then she has to like convince him to keep trying. But it's like, what are you planning on doing at this point, though, right? Because at this point, like, it's just survival. Like, you're not kicking her off the ship or anything. You know what I mean? Like, they're still in this boat together.
Yeah.
Right. It's just the urgency of it. That he's like, oh, I'll fix it and we'll go to Trask tomorrow. Your eggs will probably die, whatever. And then she's like, no, fix it now and let's go to Trask now. Is that how that went down?
Yeah, I think it's basically. I think he's just like, hey, like survival's number one, not this mission, and she's like, I disagree with that. Basically, like this is still priority for her.
Interesting. Okay.
It was
Well,
a great
again, I'm not-
insight into the overlap between persuasion and intimidation, where yes, hacking into Q0 to communicate with them is the only way to communicate with them, but also speaking from a killer droid is also a lot more convincing, probably, than speaking as if you had just written this stuff down in BASIC and Mando was reading it. I thought that was interesting as well.
Yeah.
I agree. So let's talk more about that because that was also so smart. And I don't know why I liked it so much. Maybe because I like robots and droids, and I really liked Q0 in the Prisoner.
It's
so
the best
seeing him
parts, though.
again
All of Q0
was
with
a
no
surprise.
fingers.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and I like that entire beat was really good.
I was just also very satisfied. Again, when we were talking about season 1 and yada yada, and how a lot of things don't necessarily fully have like massive payoffs, or they feel maybe a bit shoehorned in. It was very nice to be able to have that callback to like, oh, he's still on the ship, just like completely.
Very appropriate callback, yes.
Yes, exactly. Like things like that just make. I think this one like reeked in a great way of like old school Star Wars where like things aren't explained. Things would obviously just be there and popping up. Like a lot of it reminded me of like how Star Wars like used to be a little bit, which is I think why it like scratched that itch so well this episode.
Especially when it's a callback to another throwaway episode that you really
Yes.
don't need to see, because that episode also didn't advance the plot. But watching her rework Q0 retroactively makes that episode more satisfying too, right? Because it makes it feel like it has more of a through.
That's the thing.
Why did he keep him? I guess that's a little weird, right?
Just
I
kind
guess
of.
I would too. I don't
And he's
know.
broken.
If I lived in that universe, I'd keep everything.
How many
but-
cables do you
spare
have?
parts.
You know? Yeah, exactly. Like
That's true. Do you still have your phone charger from your first phone? Be honest.
Absolutely, I do. Yeah.
You're
that's
not
gonna be
getting
worth
rid of
something
the droid.
someday.
As much as I
What if I
liked,
need to charge my original iPhone?
the plot, and I had already talked about liking that Carson Teva was chasing Mando because he was part of that prison assault, and so Mando is a fugitive from the New Republic. Introducing the plot in that lens was good, but then also resolving it with no new information, just from the resolution of that episode, did kind of give me the feeling of like, what are we doing here? Like, if they just, it seems like, had a conversation about it at the beginning, which I know, lack of information and miscommunication is a common story driver, but it's not like anything developed in this episode that resolved the situation. It was just like, oh, this happened in episode 6. Action, action, action. And this also happened in episode 6. So now let's move on.
You know, maybe that's a lesson for Mandalorian that he will learn moving forward, that we can keep an eye out for. It's like, yeah, you're right. You know, Mando doesn't always need to resort to guns blazing. Like, sometimes it's like, no, you can just talk your way out of this. Like, yeah, you were involved in some seedy stuff, but you did obviously do some pretty good work at the end of that episode. So, spoilers for this episode. But okay, so Mandalorian, I guess, gets to work on the ship, but then he loses Frog Lady and he finds her in a hot spring bathing with her eggs. Someone needs to explain this again to me to make it not icky. For some reason, it just felt gross.
She's just warming them up. It's a hot spring.
Oh,
She's just keeping them warm.
With them.
Because she is also cold.
It was weird.
I feel like it's like
know.
a chicken laying on its eggs kind of situation a little bit, right? You just gotta heat them
No,
up.
because
would
she's
the
not.
chicken then
I don't think she's providing the heat. The chicken is what provides the heat. The chicken has to be there. I think this is just she wanted the eggs to be warm. She got them warm, and then she's just sitting there cold. And she's like, "Well, this is silly. I'm cold, and I can just get in."
That's true. If you see a hot tub, you're not soaking in it. I'm soaking
I
in
hop
it.
into every hot tub I see.
Yeah.
Not with my unfertilized progeny swarming around me.
Do you think it's weird that she got naked for it? Do you think it's more or less weird?
No, you got to think about. She's got one pair of
Yes.
clothes. She's got to do it. I get that.
You can't get out of that hot spring in sub-zero temperatures in wet clothes.
Oh yeah, she might have.
That's game over.
That's true. Yeah,
I was wondering about it for a split second, and then there was like a blink and you miss it shot of her grabbing her clothes with her tongue.
Blink and you miss it. Even if you blink and miss it, the sound effect is so textbook tongue and slingshot retrieval. That was a perfect moment.
Did it remind you of X-Men when Toad is in the Statue of Liberty?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
It reminded me of that. It reminded me of Venom and Spider-Man and all the times when people use organic grappling devices.
That's funny. Okay, and then that kind of brings us to.
Sorry, because we've passed several of them now. I think like 4 or 5 different times in this episode, I had the thought, I thought the Razor Crest gets a little bit more damage than that. And then it falls through the ice, and then it gets hit by all those spiders, and then the big spider shows up, and then the X-Wing starts shooting at it.
So
And
I
there we
distinctly
are.
recall in this next episode the shot of the Razor Crest kind of hobbling into port and him asking like the local dock worker to patch it up, and he just kind of acts like that's such an unrealistic request. And yes, looking at the Razor Crest at the end of this episode, that is 100% unreasonable.
Next episode,
No one wants
has
to
the
do their
fisherman.
jobs, you know.
I forgot about
Are
that.
you familiar with the ship of Theseus too? Because this also kind of brings that into question as well. Like how much has this Razor Crest been modified and replaced by now that it's like, can you still say that this is pre-Empire? Like this is basically, for all intents and purposes, a new ship.
I don't think the ship
Yeah.
of Theseus applies because there's inner computers and stuff that do all of the pre-Empire, post-Empire, transponder, ping, all that stuff. I think you can repair and destroy the hull integrity 1,000 times, and that none of that would change.
Yeah.
Whereas the ship of Theseus is just a hull because it's wood.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. But moving on, though, so that kind of brings us to, I guess, what we kind of consider to be, like, the crux of this episode, and that is Grogu sneaking off, finding this little bug egg, eating it, and waking up the hive.
Yep. Spooky. Don't like it. It's straight from Aliens, which I did like, but it's spooky. I don't like spores. I don't like egg sacs. I don't like any of the things that are mentioned in this episode.
I don't like when the big spider shoots its webs places.
Yeah.
I don't like spiders. I agree, Matt. As much as I love this episode, I can do without the spiders.
Oh no, I can do with them. I just didn't like looking at it, but it was great in the episode.
I did make the mistake of watching this on in the background while I was playing with my oldest
Oh,
daughter. And she was looking at it, and she
no.
was like, is
No
this a
way.
scary episode? And I was like, No, it's not a scary episode, but we don't have to watch this right now.
I was even thinking about that because I told my wife, like, oh, but the next episode is the one with Frog Lady, and it's a really fun episode, so I can just watch it here with the kids. And she was like, no, the spiders, nightmares. And I was like, oh, it's not that scary, but all right. And then I watch it downstairs, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have nightmares tonight. These spiders are scary as hell.
Yeah, good thing you didn't let your children watch that.
During this little, I guess, escape sequence when they're rushing back to the Razor Crest from all of these spiders, there's a couple notable beats, right? Let's start with the obvious one. Luke, I know you've been dying to talk about it. Frog Lady runs on all fours.
Yes. Love that. It's just one more moment of, much like the tongue, we glossed over the tongue grapple, but she tongue grapples. We don't need any more detail. Just the fact that I now know that she does that makes me so happy. And the fact that I know if she's in a big hurry, she can go on all fours and hop faster because she's part frog, or mostly frog. She's part woman. And because she was going slow as hell. Every time she walks, she waddles, and she usually has the canister of eggs, but Mando was carrying it this time. So I thought maybe she could run a little bit faster on 2 legs, but no, she can't. She needs to go on all 4 legs. And it looked so cool. And it was such a pleasant surprise that she does that, and it was shot really well. I love that moment.
Maybe they felt when they were writing this that they were introducing too many mechanics for this species that we had never heard before, and they're just like, okay, so it's a new species, they lay eggs, they can run on all fours, but not always, and they can use a tongue, and they're just going on, and they're just like, I feel like what you're describing is a frog. Should we just call it a frog? No, this is Star Wars. We have to call it something brand new. And they're like, but if we just call it frog and like introduce these without any explanation, everyone will just understand inherently. They're just like, okay, yeah, this is a frog person, so of course she has the tongue. Like, that didn't surprise anyone when that came out. It was satisfying, but we're just like, yeah, that's Frog Lady.
It'd be fun to
Also,
do
go
the
ahead.
put in the audio for the Captain America getting Thor's hammer in the Endgame audio. Yeah, that theater reaction. I feel like I want to put that audio over. With Frog Lady when she gets on all
Crazy when she
fours.
goes on all fours.
Yeah.
I love those memes where they put that audio over different stuff. I think
Yeah,
that's such a
it's
funny
good.
format. Another beat that I would be remiss if we didn't discuss it, when Mando is putting all the eggs back in the canister and Frog Lady is just kind of like slowly pushing them towards him, which is as helpful as you can be. Like, this is a big hot spring and the eggs are all spread out. It was just such a hysterical visual.
Yeah, it was one of those moments where it kind of, I don't know how to describe it. Like, it was just a little too realistic. Like, yeah, you're in that situation. Like, oh, here, let me just help you kind of gather these up a little bit. Like, it's a weird beat to be on screen, but you're just like, I guess that's what they would do. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking this could not possibly be the best way, and then I thought about it for 2 seconds, and I'm like, no, she's right. You gotta push them towards them.
It's just weird that they're showing that.
I appreciate it.
One of the other beats in that sequence that I really like too is when he whips out the flamethrower, but it's an ice planet and it's cold, so it takes a minute to heat up. That was really cool to see because usually
Oh,
he
is that
just
what
whips it
happened?
out in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
because it was like charging
no,
up.
I remember the moment. I didn't put it together. It was frozen, or it was too cold to light instantly. That makes sense.
It's super, super satisfying. But the most satisfying, I think it was more satisfying, maybe because I don't like spiders, than watching Frog Lady run on all fours, was when one of the little tiny spiders jumped at Mandalorian and he just catches it with his hand and just crushes it.
Yeah, that
I love it. It was so
standout
satisfying.
moment.
Like, it's so easy to kill, right? Like, they're not saying like, oh, each one of these is like its own, like, deadly thing that'll kill you. It's like, no,
Yeah.
you can easily kill one of these by itself. The threat comes from the fact that there are a million of them right
Yes.
now, and obviously one angry mama. But yeah, the squelch that it makes too. Good audio. This episode, very satisfying Foley work.
Good use.
It
of
was
the word
also giving
squelch.
good. It was giving good Halo vibes, like the flood.
Oh, yeah.
Because the little crawlies are like the flood spores, and much like the Mandalorian, I'm playing Halo, and I'm like, oh, I'll just shoot these all day long, and it's like, God, what's the point? I just gotta leave.
Yeah, that's what you do. You just run away. And then, so he gets back to the Razor Crest, right? And I know where this is going, but it did a good job of still making it feel like really tense. Because then you see them all following him into the ship, and I'm just like, oh my God, they're on board. And then he has to like retreat all the way back into the cockpit and then use his flamethrower to repel them out of there, and then it finally gets shut. And the nice thing about these episodes, these throwaway episodes that I don't really recall very well, is for a split second, I didn't know what was going to happen. I was like, how did they get out of this mess? And then, of course, the Adelphi Rangers return, and they kind of Deus Ex Machina save the day. But I don't want to say it was Deus Ex Machina. It has like a negative connotation.
They saved
to
the
it,
day,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, they saved the day. They were introduced earlier in the episode. They were looking for the Razor Crest. We knew that they were in the area, and they knew Razor Crest was in the area. Like, it all makes sense.
I like how you're like, they
but I
Deus
just
Ex
didn't see it
Machina
coming,
this
and I was,
throwaway episode. Anyway, we love it.
Also, Frog Lady saves the day. She shoots the shoots the spiders that are getting at Grogu, and then it pans over to her, and she has that resting grin, which I love. Fantastic creature design, and she's like trembling with the gun. She's not a killer, but she's
That is a great moment.
A hero.
Also, you
it
didn't
is
mention
a fantastic creature design. Frog Lady looks great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Luke, you didn't mention the weird, like ant in the beginning that's playing cards with Pelimato.
Dr. Mandible? We
Yeah,
talked about
Dr.
him.
Mandible.
Oh, we did talk about it.
we called
did.
him by his name.
See.
I forget what I was going to go from there.
Sorry,
But yeah, then they save
I
the day,
marked up.
and then they have that conversation with the Adelphi Rangers about how, like, you're a wanted man, but you did some good work in, locking up these other people for us, so we're kind of letting you go.
Can you imagine that was like Jeffrey Dahmer killed a
And that
bunch of
was it.
people, but he like caught a couple people on tax evasion. It's like, I don't know if that evens out. Feels
That is
weird.
not at all what happened
Not
here.
that severe. No.
I
If
do.
anything, it was the other way around.
Yeah, tax evasion, and they killed a bunch of people, and they let them go for that? That's even crazier.
He killed the right people.
The Rangers of the New Republic, I don't know what their deal is, if they have a duty to protect and serve like the police theoretically do, but the
Nice dig.
way that Mando is like, oh, why don't you help me fix up my ship in lieu of the bounty on those criminals that I apprehended? And they like laugh at him, and they're like, no, I'll let you off with a warning, but I'm not going to help you. And then they leave. Are they certain that he does have the ability to leave? Like, there's a decent chance that you just left him for dead here, right?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, what's the equivalent to like a roadside assistance kit that everyone has in the trunk of their car? Like, is there like a space equivalent to that everyone has? And it's just like, this guy just needs a patch
It's my understanding.
everything on his ship.
It's my understanding that is 15 welders welding torches or whatever the equivalent is. Whenever you need work done on a ship, you gotta weld it.
Based on every background we've seen in any hangar, in any Rebel hangar. Yeah, but I do kind of like that beat, though, how he gets kind of like... he kind of gets a little cocky there, and he's like, how about you guys help me, and we call it even. And then they're like, no.
We're not doing that.
I like that part. All right, but then he patches the cockpit, and he makes it clear that he was like really just doing the cockpit too, just for that extra level of realism. And then we kind of see that shot of it limping off into space to go to the planet Trask.
Do you think it's a reference, like to Marvel?
It is in rough shape. Trask,
Yeah.
X-Men.
Yeah, Trask Industries.
I would like to think that it is, but
Like, I just, I mean,
I doubt it.
I don't know.
but what else is that? It's just a unique thing.
No, the thing
There was a
is, it's
couple
not
references.
unique. It's our worldly enough that I think it is a reference. I feel like if it wasn't a reference, it would be more unique,
Wait, so you're saying it is a reference?
I bet it's someone's name. I doubt it's X-Men related. Because if you were going to go X-Men, like, why would you pick Trask? Like, he's like...
You can't be like, let's go to the planet Wolverine. Like, that's too on the nose.
No, but you could at least do like a hero or something. Or what's James Howlett is his full name? He probably couldn't do that either. But there's someone more popular than Trask. He's like the 45th most popular X-Men character, isn't he?
Yeah. All right, let's name him Kitty Pryde,
He's
Cyclops.
not really the most significant X-Men villain. I don't know. There was a line earlier in the episode too, when Mandalorian was talking to Peli Motto, and she was like, all right, don't cry or you'll rust." And I was like, oh, that's like a little Wizard of Oz reference right there, right? They say that to Tin Man, and I was like, that makes sense.
I did not pick that up as a Wizard of Oz reference. It just applies to someone else that has metal on their face, but
it does. That's why I didn't want to say it the first time around. But when I heard it, I definitely did think Wizard of Oz. I was like, I think that's a reference. I don't know. All right. Final thoughts? Anything else that we didn't discuss this episode that we want to, other than just
I've complained
rave
before
reviews for a throwaway episode?
I've complained before about the Mandalorian toy line and how they do him in his pre-Beskar armor, post-Beskar armor, with the mud, with the ice, etc. I think there's several more, and I joked last week after the Crate Dragon, like, oh, I'm surprised they didn't release a toy figure of him with some Crate Dragon green goo on him after he blew it up. But seeing him with the ice on him, he looks pretty rad. That's a good look. I'm not gonna buy a separate toy just to support it, but he looks awesome.
As far as the toy line goes, they know what they got, because every time I see Mandalorian on screen, I'm just like, God, he looks so cool.
That's my last note.
Did they ever make a Frog Lady toy? Mm-mm. That surprises me.
I remember I saw a fan-made
species,
a fan-made Frog Lady species chart, or whatever it's called, for the tabletop RPG that went into a good amount of fabricated detail on her traits and abilities and stuff, which was fun to read.
Oh, that's the part of the fandom that I love. That's hilarious. The second this Frog Lady was on screen, a bunch of nerds were like, that's what I'm going to be. All right. Well, does anyone have any force for thought for us?
Yes, I do. I was watching Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and Padme and Shmi and Anakin and Kitster are pulling up to the pod race on the Eope right after Qui-Gon gambled for Anakin's freedom, if you remember. And then the Eope kind of sit down so they can dismount, and there's Padme and Anakin on one Eope, Padme in the back, Anakin on the front, and Shmi and Kitster on the other Eope, Shmi in the back, Kitster in the front. And I was wondering, who's driving here? Who's driving these Eopes? Because we'll just take the Padme Anakin one first. Padme has never seen this animal, assumedly, and she's a queen, she's royalty. I don't even know if she knows how to drive a car or a speeder. And Anakin is about to enter the most dangerous pod race in the planet, so he is obviously a very gifted and talented driver. But it would be weird for him to drive from the front with her behind him. But it would also be weird to put the smaller person in the back, reaching around the bigger person. So I could see it going either way. And then Shmi, also with Kitster. I'm sure Kitster is a capable driver, EOP rider, but so is Shmi probably. But also Shmi is riding side saddle because she has a dress, not pants, and you can tell that she is side saddle when she hops off. So I don't know if that makes it. I don't know enough about horseback riding or whatever the equivalent is here, but is it harder to drive and be in control of your mount when you're side saddle? And who do you guys think is driving these EOPs?
That's an interesting
question. That is a wild
Luke.
question that is going into so much detail. This is what I love talking about, because also how did they come up with that seating arrangement? Like, were they back at the house and they were just like, okay, hey, we got to go to this hangar real quick, let's mount our Eopies, and Anakin's like, hey mom, do you mind if I ride with the hot chick? Because like, why is Anakin's mom not riding with him? Like, you would think like if anyone, the last person she would volunteer to ride with, like, okay, I'll let the two boys ride together because they're friends, and I'll take this new girl, because she doesn't know what she's doing, or I'll go with my son because that's my son. Like, the last person she should be riding with is Kitster. So clearly Anakin was behind the scenes being like, hey mom, do you mind if I ride with the hot chick?
Probably. That's another good point.
Interesting. And I would guess I would say Anakin and Shmi were driving, because it is kind of like riding a horse, right? Like, how do you ride two people on one horseback? Like, I feel like it could be either way, and I feel like if I was riding with a child, I would put them like on my lap in front of me, and I would be holding the reins around them. But if someone was my size or age, then I would just, motorcycle it and just be like, okay, yeah, just sit behind me and hold on, and I'll drive. I think it can go either way. I would say Anakin and Shmi were driving them.
Matt?
I have no idea. I'm trying to think of how any of this makes sense, to be honest. I'm like, which way? This is all I want to talk about. I'm going to
rewatch
rewatch
Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch Phantom Menace tomorrow now and get back to you, because I'm just like, that is like an aspect of that I've never even thought about, like who drives. Like
You're gonna see this 2-second scene, and you're gonna be like, this is what the fuck they were talking about that whole time.
No, I know what you're talking about. I'm just
still
trying to
is.
think
Speaking
logistically.
of blink and you'll miss it.
Like, who is driving? Oh God.
That is well. That is fun. That is an excellent force for thought, because that's something that now I'm going to ponder every time I watch that 2-second scene in Phantom Menace.
That's why we do
Let
this,
us know what you
folks.
think. You can reach out to us across social media at Force for Thought, or you could email us at forceforthought@gmail.com.
See you, Sammy.